Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Influence Podcast. I'm Jordan Banderas, and before we begin, don't forget to hit that follow, subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my episodes. So on today's episode, I want to give my 2 cents about the dilemma that a lot of businesses and employees are facing right now. I'm talking about the mandates about going back to the office, the return to the office mandates. And why is that good and bad for the employee and the employer as well? The reason why I want to talk about this is because I used to work from home. So I know the good and the bad. And right now, there's a lot of research and a lot of information that keeps coming out every other day about why it's good to go back to the office, why it's affecting the businesses, why it's not good to go back to the offices, why employees love working from home. So there's a lot of information. And I honestly believe, and it seems like it, a lot of employers are actually just looking at the data that comes out even on the news or on news articles and things like that. And they're like, well, we have to bring everybody back to the office. They're not looking at their internal data. They're not like, well, what does this data shows for us, for our business, for our industry? Well, let's take a look. Because for the employee side, the data is showing that the benefits of it is that a lot of people are saving money. They're saving money on gas because they're not driving long distances. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of employees that have to drive long distances to go back to the office. So they're saving money on gas. A lot of employees got rid of their second or third car because they're working from home. So they don't need another car. They only need one. So they're saving money on that. Another good thing is that they're saving money on daycare, which was the most important factor as to why people don't want to go back to the office if they have kids. Because unfortunately, daycare is expensive. Let's be honest. I did my own research here in Salt Lake, and for a baby at the shittiest daycare that I could find, they're charging $450 per baby. And then if it gets to like 2 years old or 1 year old, they charge less. And then the older the kid gets, the less they charge. But imagine if you have multiple kids. You are spending a lot of money. Even with 2 parents, that still is a lot of money. So a lot of people are saving money on that because they're staying home. They're able to take care of the kids while working. They have been able to find that work-life balance. So it's working for them. And another thing is that, and this is what the data shows, is that they're not dealing with toxicity from the office. Because one of the things that the data shows is that a lot of people don't want to go back to the office at all because they don't want to deal with the Karens from the office. You know, those people that suck the life out of you and you have to work with them because they're part of your team. So a lot of people don't want to deal with that. So those are the benefits. Those are the benefits for the employee. Now let's look at the negatives. The negatives are that a lot of people are being affected when it comes to their mental health because they're working from home. And that's one of the things that happened with me. When I was working from home, I was looking out the window. I was seeing my wife drive away. I was seeing people, play outside. And I was like, I feel trapped at home. I don't want to be home and working, because nobody really wants to do that, especially when it's not your dream. When it's not something that's going to make you a lot of money. So I felt trapped. I felt anxious because of that. And I felt depressed. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. That's what they were telling researchers. Like, I feel depressed because I'm not able to separate work from home. So because literally you're in the next room and then you just walk out of the room and you're in your kitchen or you're in your bedroom, things like that. So it's hard when it comes to that. Now, another negative is that obviously people are buying more food because they're staying home. A lot of people I actually gaining weight, which it happened with me because I was eating all the time. I was stressed, and one of my coping mechanisms when it comes to stress is to eat. So I gained weight when I was working from home. That's why I also quit, because I was like, this is affecting me in more ways than one. And the company that I was working with or for, they're like, no, you're not coming back to the office. Because I asked them, I asked them, hey, can I go back to the office because I don't like working from home? And they're like, nope. So I quit. And a lot of employees are doing that. So that's another negative. So now let's look at the employer side. What are the positives? Because I don't think a lot of CEOs or executive teams that are mandating for their people to come back to the office are actually mentioning if there's any positives. Because per the data, the positives show that a lot of businesses are saving money when it comes to renting offices, because now they have to downsize. They're saving money with the equipment, with the little things like sticky notes and all these things that they have to buy for the employers so they can actually perform their job. Usually now the employee has to buy them because they're working from home. Some employers still give you all of that, but a lot of employers don't. The employer that I was working for never did that. So they're saving money on that. Another thing is that they're saving money when it comes to perks about buying food for every single employee. I know there's companies that actually do that. There's little things that they're saving money on. And another thing that shows on the data that is the most positive thing about working from home is that the employees are actually finding that work-life balance. And they're thriving, like I mentioned, and businesses are thriving. So a lot of businesses are actually profiting even more, and they have created a culture that works for them. And I'll give you this example. It's Smuckers, the company that makes the jelly. I was reading this on the Wall Street Journal. They have this policy that everybody has to work in the office for at least 22 weeks a year. So that's not the whole year. That's a hybrid model. And they are thriving. Their productivity has gone up. Their employees are happy and things like that. So business is thriving for them because of their policy. So I believe that employers need to do things that work for them. Not for everyone, but for them as a business as a whole with certain kinds of employees. Don't look at the whole industry, look at your business, okay? Now, let's look at the actual negatives. The negatives of working from home, and unfortunately happens. I was a slacker at one point when I was working from home, and that's the problem. There's a lot of people that are slacking. They're doing the quiet quitting. They're actually hurting the business because a lot of people have to pick up their slack sometimes. And when a lot of people are quiet quitting and they're just doing the minimum, there's going to be a point where the business is going to be affected by that. And what happens when the business is getting affected by pretty much your productivity? There's going to have to be layoffs because they're going to lose business, they're going to lose revenue, and then people are going to complain about that. So that's one of the main negatives that they were showing. Another negative that they were showing is that people don't know how to communicate anymore with their coworkers. Like they're struggling to communicate. When they have Zoom face-to-face meetings, they don't know how to talk to each other because when you work from home, sometimes your filter has fallen out and you don't know how to put that filter back on. So you talk the same way that you're talking at home to your coworkers, and then you get in trouble. That's one of the negatives. So, in my opinion, based on all this data, I feel that businesses need to look at their internal data and figure out what will work best for them and the employees as well. Because here's what I would do if I was a CEO. Let's just say I'm the CEO of a big company and I have employees working from home. The way that I would do this, the way that I will sell the argument in this case is that I will look at the internal data. I will sit down with my executive team and be like, okay, let's compare what's working for us and what's not. Let's look at the data from when the pandemic started, when we sent everybody to work from home, to now. And if our productivity and our business is thriving, they were actually doing better than ever, I will let it go. You guys are thriving. You guys are working from home. You guys are doing your thing. You guys are actually helping the business grow. So I will send an email say, you go at it. You're doing great. Thank you, guys. That's what I will do. And then I will move on. Now, if my business is suffering because of people working from home, then again, I will look at the data. I will compare it. And if the productivity is actually tanking, then we will have to talk to everybody. I will literally, this is the way that I will do it. I will have a meeting with every single employee, like a Zoom meeting where everybody can see what I'm talking about, everybody can see me, and literally just say like, listen, we did a comparison of our internal data, our numbers from when you guys started working from home to now, and unfortunately have bad news. It looks like that our productivity has been affected a lot. Like the business is actually being hurt because of this lack in productivity. So what we're going to do, I'm just telling you right now what's going on, because we don't want to fire anybody. We don't want to do anything irrational. We don't want to literally cut staff or anything like that. So what we're going to do from this point on, we're going to check again in 90 days to see if anything has changed. And then after the 90 days, I will look at the data again with my executive team. And if things have changed, great. If not, then I will look at the people that have been on the bottom. If those are the same people that have been on the bottom for a really long time, I will have their actual supervisors talk to them and see what's going on, because they could be having issues at home, right? I mean, we're all human. So if we can help them, we will help them. But if they don't want to change, if we come up with a strategy where they can help, where they should be able to actually increase their productivity, and they don't do it, then at that point, the best course of action is to part ways. And I will literally tell them like, listen, we gave you a chance. We came up with a plan. You're not sticking with a plan. You're hurting the business. So at this point, it's either you come to the office, and if you don't want to do that, then it's better to part ways at that point. Because in the end, I mean, at one point or another, if you're slacking, you're going to get fired. Especially if the business is suffering, right? If you've been at the bottom for all this time, just doing the bare minimum, they're going to be like, oh, that person is quitting. So they're going to let you go. You got to think about that too. So this is pretty much all the data that it shows. And I honestly hope that employees and employers listen to each other. This is the message that I have for the CEOs and the executive teams. Send a survey, a mandatory survey. Just put it like that. This is a mandatory survey because we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the business and for you guys. And then send it. Ask questions like, is it better for you to work from home? Is it better for you to work from the office? Things like that. Like, just talk to them, listen to them, and set a plan with them. Because there's another thing that I want to share. This is real quick. When I was doing all this research, I came across this story again on the Wall Street Journal about this guy who was making $90,000 a year working from home. Because during the pandemic, his company sent him to work from home. He loved it. He was working from home. He was taking care of his family. He was spending time with his kids. He loved it. And recently, as of last month, his company was like, you know what? You need to come back to the office. This is going to be mandatory, no if or buts. Well, here's what this person did. He was like, I'm not going back to the office. I moved further away. I'm going to spend more money on gas. I'm going to not spend time with my family. So I'm going to miss out on a lot of things. So he was like, fuck you, and started looking for another job. And the best part about this, and this is one thing that I want the CEOs and executive teams to understand if you guys are listening to this, and if you're an employer, or an employee, just so you know, you can actually find something better out there. This person actually found a better job that lets him work from home because the company is international. It's not even located here in the States. So guess what? He's working from home and making $150,000 a year. So he got a pay increase of $60,000 a year and working from home. So he already loves working from home. He can do his job for working from home, and now he's going to get paid more. So this is going to be a big problem, and it's going to come to a boiling point. I can see it happening where people are going to start quitting because they don't want to come back to the office, and businesses are going to lose good people because they're making the wrong choices for the employees. And I honestly hope that doesn't happen, because when it does, or if it does, it's going to hurt the economy very bad. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk on today's episode. Thank you for the growth and the feedback. Thank you for all your support. Thank you again. And we're growing. I'm excited about this because we're growing. We're reaching more people. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And here are my final thoughts. If your business is doing good, even without working from the office, let your employees be happy and have a great day.